Long before memory became story, before men learned to count the stars, there was a kingdom by the edge of a river that glowed like molten silver under the moon. The people of Udo called it Mirioma, the good water, for it gave them fish, life, and prophecy. But that river had a spirit, ancient and deep. They said she was Ezenwani Miri, the river queen, half woman, half serpent, her laughter the sound of running water. Once, long ago, she fell in love with a mortal hunter. When his pride led him to betray her, she cursed the children of men. When pride flows stronger than blood, the river shall reclaim what is hers. Generations passed. Kings rose, kings fell, and her words sank beneath time, until the season of King Obiaker, the man whose daughter's beauty made even the wind pause to whisper. Her name was Amarachi, the grace of God. And indeed, grace followed her, but pride walked beside it, from the moment she could speak. Amarachi's words were wrapped in silk and thunder. Servants bowed at her feet. Nobles trembled at her frown. When she walked to the market square, women covered their heads and whispered, "The gods spent all their beauty on one child." She was beautiful, yes, but her heart was a river without humility. At 16, Amarachi had refused 7 suitors, warriors, princes, and even a foreign envoy bearing gold from the north. Each time, she found new ways to mock them. When a young drummer from the border villages came, blind but smiling, offering to play her name into rhythm, she laughed. "Blind man," she said, "how can you praise what you cannot see?" The drummer only bowed his head and said, "The ear that mocks the blind shall one day hear what eyes cannot see." He turned, his drum echoing softly. Kudu, kudu, a sound that seemed to weep into the dust. Weeks later, a poor farmer arrived with nothing but a yam the size of his fist. "For you, my princess," he said, "a seed of the earth's heart." Amarachi's laughter filled the courtyard. "One yam for the king's daughter? Do you think my stomach is a shrine for pity?" The man nodded slowly. "The soil remembers kindness," he said, "but pride forgets harvest." That night, the yam sprouted in her father's storehouse, a small green shoot growing from marble stone. But even that sign did not soften her. During the Feast of Ani, when maidens danced to honor the Earth Mother, Amarachi stood apart, her arms crossed. "My feet will not pound dust like peasants," she said. "Let the ground honor me instead." The chief priestess, old and wise, watched her in silence. When the dances ended, she approached Amarachi and touched her forehead gently. "The heart that refuses to kneel," she said, "shall be taught by the river." The words fell like wind, but they sank deep, like seeds waiting for rain. King Obiaker loved his daughter beyond measure, yet her pride weighed on his spirit. He feared the prophecy whispered by the elders that one day the river would claim what arrogance could not hold. He summoned diviners, but their cowries fell silent. Only one spoke, a young seer whose eyes were pale like morning mist. "The river has chosen," he murmured. "When the moon swims in blood, her suitor will come, not in flesh as men do, but in skin that glitters." The king dismissed him, thinking it madness, but on the night of the next blood moon, the river began to sing. The blood moon rose like an ember above the river. Its reflection shimmered red across the waves, and the air grew heavy, as if the world itself was holding its breath. In the palace courtyard, torches flickered low, and the king's drummers beat a slow rhythm that made the ground tremble. Coo, 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 coo. It was a night of Amarachi's choosing, a ceremony held once every 7 years, when the princess would decide whether to wed or wait another cycle. Kings from distant lands had sent gifts, gold, coral, ivory, silk. But Amarachi's eyes saw none of them. She sat on her throne carved from Irako wood, a crown of cowries glinting on her head, her face calm and proud. When the herald called for suitors to step forth, 12 men came, princes with blades, traders with treasures, even a warrior who had slain a leper with bare hands. Each bowed, each spoke, each was dismissed. Amarachi's voice rang clear across the courtyard. Is this all the world has to offer? Men who think themselves gods because they can buy gold or spill blood. The crowd murmured uneasily. King Obiaker sighed, his heart heavy. My daughter, remember your words carry the weight of the throne. But Amarachi only smiled faintly. Then may the throne never bend. As the last suitor withdrew, the air changed. The torches flickered blue. The drums stuttered, then fell silent. A cold wind slid across the courtyard, smelling of rain, earth, and something older than both. From the edge of the gathering, a shadow moved, low, smooth, and glistening. It slithered forward, a great serpent, emerald and gold, its eyes glowing like twin moons. Gasps rippled through the people. Warriors reached for spears. But before any weapon could strike, the serpent stopped beneath the dais, lifted its head, and began to change. Scales melted into skin, coils unwound into limbs. Before them stood a man, tall, dark as deep water, his eyes the same green as the serpent's scales. He bowed low. I am Isaiaku, son of the River Queen, he said, voice deep and smooth. I come where your call was heard. The silence that followed was thick as night. Then whispers, a spirit, a demon, a trickster from the deep. The priestess stepped forward, trembling. What business has the river among men? Isaiaku turned to her gently. The same business men have when they pray to the river. Amarachi rose slowly, curiosity glinting like light on glass. And why should the River Queen's son comfort me? Because, said Isaiaku, you mocked all who came before. The river does not bring what pride desires. It brings what the heart denies. Her lips curved, a smile both wary and intrigued. You are bold. He inclined his head. Only truth is bold. Something in his eyes, steady, calm, unfearful, disarmed her. For the first time, Amarachi did not have words ready to wound. Instead, she asked quietly, And if I choose you, serpent, will you stay in this form or slither back to the depths when it pleases you? I will be what love commands, Isaiaku said. The court erupted, half in outrage, half in awe. King Obiaker stood, his staff trembling in his hand. No spirit shall wed the blood of my line, he thundered. But the priestess raised her hand. My king, do not forget the prophecy. The river does not claim without cause. The king hesitated, torn between fear and fate. And Amarachi, proud and defiant, turned to her father. If the river wants me, she said, let it try to drown me. She faced Isaiaku and extended her hand. I will marry you. The drum struck once, a single note that echoed like thunder. The Serpent Prince smiled. Then let the waters bear witness. That night, under the red moon, Amarachi was wed to Isaiaku in a ceremony unlike any ever seen. The people sang old songs, though their voices trembled. Isaiaku placed a garland of lilies around Amarachi's neck, and the lilies turned to living pearls. But when the moon dipped below the trees, a shadow crossed the river. The torches dimmed. A voice rose, deep and feminine, flowing like 1,000 streams. It was Ezenwani Miri, the river queen herself. Child of pride, she said, her voice filling every ear. You have bound yourself to what you do not understand. Amarachi lifted her chin. I fear no spirit. Then you have already begun your lesson, said the queen. The river flared with light, and for a moment, Amarachi saw beneath the surface a palace of glass and coral, thrones of light, faces that watched from the depths. When the light faded, Isaiaku stood beside her, silent, his eyes glimmering with something ancient. Days turned into weeks. Amarachi and Isaiaku lived in quiet splendor. He was gentle, wise, and strong. But at night, when the moon rose, he would vanish toward the riverbank. When she asked where he went, he smiled to answer the water's call. It was the only answer she ever received. And though she loved him, curiosity, that child of pride, began to grow again. In the weeks after their wedding, the kingdom of Udo bloomed like never before. Rain fell in gentle rhythms. The yam harvest doubled. The river sang sweeter songs. People said it was the blessing of the Serpent Prince. They smiled when they saw Amarachi walking through the market with Isayaka beside her. For though he spoke little, his presence brought calm, and even the restless goats and birds grew quiet when he passed. But Amarachi was restless. Her husband's mystery burned in her heart like a secret flame. Each night, he vanished toward the river, returning before dawn, his skin cool and damp as morning dew. Once, she followed him to the courtyard, hiding behind a great fig tree. She saw him kneel beside the river, whispering in a language that shimmered like water itself. Then his form shimmered, too, and melted into the river's glow. Amarachi gasped, stepping back, her breath caught between awe and disbelief. He was not merely from the river. He was the river. When Isayaka returned at dawn, he found her pretending to sleep, but her eyes betrayed her. "You saw," he said softly. Amarachi turned her face away. "You go where I cannot follow. You speak with waters I cannot hear. What sort of husband leaves his wife to talk with ghosts?" He smiled gently. "They are not ghosts, my love. They are the spirits who guard life. Without them, your river would dry, your yams would wither, and your people would thirst." "Then take me with you," she said quickly. "Let me see this world of yours." Isayaka hesitated. "The water is not kind to mortals. You are the land. Your breath is too heavy for the deep." Amarachi frowned. "Are you ashamed of me?" His eyes softened, but he said nothing. For days afterward, Amarachi spoke little. Her laughter, once sharp and bright, became brittle. She looked at the river as if it mocked her, hiding secrets she could not reach. At last, on the seventh night, Isayaka came to her chamber as the moon hung low. He took her hands in his. "If your heart truly seeks the truth," he said, "then you must follow me, but without pride. For in the realm beneath, pride is a weight that sinks." Without another word, he led her through the moonlit path to the riverbank. The water was still glowing faintly, as if waiting. Isayaka touched her forehead, whispering ancient words, and the surface of the water opened like glass. "Breathe," he said. "The river will hold you." She hesitated only once, then stepped forward. The water wrapped around her like cool silk, and when she opened her eyes, she gasped. Below her stretched a world of shimmering light. Palaces made of coral and crystal, glowing plants swaying like dancers, fish with jeweled eyes swimming through silver arches. It was a kingdom alive with magic, every current whispering stories. The river queen awaited them on a throne of flowing light. Her hair streamed like black water, her eyes deep as the ocean floor. "Welcome, child of men," she said. "You walk where few breathe." Amarachi bowed stiffly. "I thank you, great mother of waters." But her voice carried the same tone she used for servants and courtiers. Ezenwanyi smiled faintly. "The river gives grace, but also remembers tone." Amarachi's pride stirred, though she kept her face calm. The river queen turned to Isayaka. "She is beautiful, and her heart still fights its own reflection." Isayaka bowed. "She is learning, my mother." The queen's gaze softened. "Then let her learn gently." She raised her hand, and a shell floated toward Amarachi, carved with symbols that shimmered like moonlight. "Keep this close," said the queen. "It will let you breathe the song of the deep. But remember, the water listens to truth, not deceit." Amarachi accepted the shell, and for a moment, humility touched her heart. Here, in this vast world of mystery, she was small, a guest among forces older than mountains. For days, she wandered the underwater kingdom. Spirits danced through bubbles, and shells sang with voices from forgotten ages. Isayaka showed her gardens of glowing pearls and fish that told riddles in soft tones. And in those days, Amarachi's heart softened. She began to love him not for his power or mystery, but for the peace he carried, a peace that felt like home. But peace is fragile when pride still lingers. One evening, as they dined on fruit that glowed like stars, Amarachi asked, "Why do your people live below and we above? Why must light be shared, not united?" Isayaka smiled, "Because each world must protect the other. If the river forgets the land, the floods come. If the land forgets the river, drought follows." "But what if they became one?" she asked, eyes bright. "Would that not be greater?" Isayaka's smile faded. "You speak like the storm." She turned away, wounded by his calmness. When they returned to the world above, Amarachi carried a memory of that brightness, but also a seed of defiance. If she could not belong to both worlds equally, she would make one bow to her will. It was then that her maid, Ngozi, began to whisper. Ngozi had always envied her mistress. Her beauty, her husband, her power, and jealousy, like rust, eats what it touches. "My princess," she said one morning, brushing Amarachi's hair. "The people murmur. They say your husband leaves each night to speak to the dead. They fear him. Should a queen not know the truth of her own husband?" Amarachi's mirror caught her own frown. "I have seen what lies beneath. He hides nothing from me." Ngozi's voice grew softer, venom wrapped in sweetness. "But what if his form is but a spell? What if his love is only enchantment? If you could find his serpent skin and destroy it, he will belong to you alone." The thought clung to Amarachi's mind like shadow. That night, when Isayaka left for the river, she followed. Hidden behind the great fig tree, she watched him remove his robe and whisper a word. From his back unfurled scales and his body lengthened, twisting into his true serpent form. He glided into the water, the moonlight glancing off his emerald skin. Amarachi's heart pounded, awe, fear, and possessiveness swirling together. When he was gone, she searched the grass where he had stood. There, half buried in sand, she found his serpent skin, folded like a robe of shimmering gold and green. She lifted it, trembling. It was warm, alive. "Now," she whispered, "you will never leave me again." She hid it beneath her bed of carved ebony. When Isayaka returned at dawn, he looked weary, as if a storm brewed behind his eyes. He reached for her hand. "The waters feel strange tonight," he murmured. "Something is unbalanced." Amarachi smiled too quickly. Perhaps the wind is restless. But when he tried to return to the river the next night, his body resisted. His skin grew pale. The glow in his eyes dimmed. "Where is my shell?" he asked softly. She turned away. "You are mine. You belong here now." Pain filled his face. "You do not understand what you have done." The river's song outside faltered. The air thickened. And in the distance, thunder rolled, though no storm had gathered. The morning after Isayaka's strength began to fade, the air in Udo changed. Birds stopped singing. The river's song grew hoarse, dragging like a dying flute. By noon, the wells had dropped half their depth, and the farmers returned with dry yams clinging to cracked soil. In the palace, Amarachi paced her chambers, her beauty dimmed by shadows. Isayaka lay pale upon his mat, his skin dry, his breath shallow. "Give me what you took," he whispered. "The skin that binds me my world. Give it back, or you doom us both." Her pride fought her compassion. "You belong here," she said coldly. "You are my husband. This is your place." Isayaka turned his eyes to her, tears glistening like dew. Love cannot live in chains. Outside, thunder groaned again, but no rain fell. Only dust, rising like a warning. In the following days, the kingdom began to crumble. The river retreated, the crops withered, and sickness came like smoke. The priests gathered in the square, beating their drums, calling to Allah, the Earth Mother, and Idemolai, the spirit of the river, but their prayers returned unanswered. Finally, the oldest diviner, Dibio Koro, came to the palace. He was thin as a stick, his beard white as cotton, his eyes clouded but sharp within. He bowed low before Amarachi. "Princess, he said in a voice that scraped like wind on stone. The spirits are angry. The river mourns its son, and the earth feels his absence. Until balance is restored, no drop shall bless this land. Amarachi stiffened. You speak in riddles, old man. But the diviner lifted his cowries and cast them before her feet. The shells clattered, then stilled, forming the shape of a serpent coiled around a crown. Okoro's voice trembled. You have taken what is sacred. You have stolen the skin of the river prince. Amarachi froze, her heart slamming against her ribs. I did what any wife would, she said. I wished only to keep him close. The diviner shook his head slowly. You wish to own what cannot be owned. You trap the current that must flow. For this, Udo shall thirst until the river is made whole again. The court gasped. Amarachi's father, the king, rose in fury. Is this true, my daughter? She could not answer. Tears burned her eyes, pride choking her throat. When she turned to Isayaku, he looked at her with sorrow so deep it silenced the hall. Then, before their eyes, he dissolved, his body breaking into droplets of light that fell to the floor and vanished into mist. The next instant, the palace trembled. The great river at the edge of the kingdom rose like a living beast, then withdrew, leaving only cracked earth and dying fish. Udo became a land of thirst. For 7 days and nights, Amarachi locked herself in her chamber, refusing food and sleep. Her servants whispered that her eyes no longer saw the world as before, that she wandered the halls as though haunted by ghosts. On the 8th day, the king summoned her. My daughter, he said sternly, you brought sorrow upon this land. You will go and seek what you have lost. Do not return until the river flows again. And so, wrapped in a simple cloth, barefoot and alone, Amarachi left the palace gates. The people watched in silence. None offered her water. Her journey began under the blazing sun. She walked for days through dust and thorn, her once delicate feet torn and bleeding. Each night, she camped beneath dying trees, and each morning she prayed to the empty sky. At last, her path led her to the mountain of Ugwai Demilai, where the river was said to begin, a place where mortals seldom ventured. At the foot of the mountain sat an old woman, pounding yam with slow, deliberate strength. Her eyes, sharp and bright, fixed upon Amarachi. Child of pride, she said without greeting, the ground remembers your steps. Amarachi knelt, trembling. Mother, I seek the river prince. I have wronged him, and now the world suffers. The old woman smiled sadly. You cannot find what you do not understand. To reach him, you must walk to the mirror of your own shadow. Amarachi frowned. I do not understand. The woman pointed to a small pool beside her mortar. Though no river fed it, it shimmered like glass. Enter, she said, but leave your pride behind, for it cannot cross. Before Amarachi could question, the woman struck her mortar thrice. Thunder echoed, and the world tilted. Amarachi fell, not into water, but into silence. When she opened her eyes, she was standing in a world without color. Everything shimmered in shades of silver and gray. Trees without leaves, rivers that flowed upward, skies without sun. This was Alam Bede, the realm between guilt and redemption. Voices whispered from the air. The heart that holds too tightly loses what it loves. The eyes that see only beauty forget truth. Amarachi walked through this dreamscape, her reflection following her though no water ran beneath her feet. She came to a river made of mist, where her reflection stood up and faced her. It was her, but prouder, colder, wearing a crown of mirrors. The reflection smiled. So you've come to reclaim what you lost. Foolish child, you had the world's love and power, and still you wanted more. Amarachi fell to her knees. I wanted to be enough. The reflection laughed, sharp and bitter. Then why hide behind pride? Why mock others? Why bind the one who loved you most? Tears ran down Amarachi's face. Because I feared being small. Her reflection tilted its head. Then be small, for only those who kneel can drink from the river. The shadow reached out, touching her forehead, and shattered into light. When Amarachi opened her eyes again, she was lying at the base of a great waterfall. The waters glowed faintly, and at the center, rising from the mist, was Isaiaku. But he was changed, his body woven of both man and spirit, his eyes deep as the sea. Amarachi, he said softly, why do you seek me now? She crawled forward on trembling hands. Because love without humility is poison. I bound you in fear. I see that now. He studied her for a long time. The river forgives, he said, but it does not forget. He stretched out his hand. Give me the shell. Amarachi reached into her wrapper. The shell still hung at her neck, cracked and dulled. She placed it in his palm. The moment he closed his hand, the waterfall flared with light. The earth shook, and from the ground below, water burst forth, singing in joy. It flowed down the mountain, through the hills, across the plains, returning to Udo with thunder and blessing. Amarachi wept, both in sorrow and relief. Will you return with me? She asked. Isaiaku shook his head. I belong to both worlds, but you belong to yours. Yet wherever the river flows, my love will find you. He touched her brow, and warmth spread through her like sunrise. Go, he whispered. Be the queen who listens. And then he was gone, his form dissolving into 1,000 silver drops that rose to the sky like rain returning home. When Amarachi returned to Udo, the people rejoiced. Rain fell again. The land blossomed. The king embraced her, but she only wept. Father, she said, I have learned that a crown weighs nothing if worn upon a proud heart. From that day, she ruled with gentleness and wisdom. She built shrines to honor the river spirits and decreed that every season, offerings of peace be made to Idemolai. And when she walked by the river's edge at dusk, the waters would sometimes ripple, as if smiling back at her. Pride blinds the eye that might see love. Humility is the key that unlocks understanding. For in learning to bow, the heart rises higher than the crown ever could. Years passed, yet the story of the princess who loved the river prince never faded. Children whispered beside cooking fires. Elders retold it beneath the old Udala tree, when the moon was round and white. The people of Udo began to understand what their ancestors had always known, that spirits walked beside men, unseen but listening, and that the line between pride and ruin is thinner than a strand of the spider's web. Amarachi, now queen, ruled in peace. Under her care, Udo became a land of plenty, its markets rich with palm oil and yams, its people laughing once more. But though her laughter returned, her eyes carried the quiet of deep waters. Each morning, before sunrise, she would walk to the riverbank barefoot. There, she poured libation with cola and honey, whispering, "To the river that forgave me, to the spirit who loved me beyond my foolishness." The ripples would shimmer in response. No words, no voice, just understanding. One harmattan evening, when the air hung heavy with the scent of burning wood, a boy ran to the palace shouting, "The river sings again! The river sings again!" The villagers gathered at the bank. The water glowed faintly blue under the moonlight, and within its depths a figure moved, not of flesh, but of current and light. It was Isaiaku, smiling faintly. His voice rose from the water, like music made of wind. O people of Udo, remember, the earth listens to your hearts, not your words. Where there is greed, drought follows. Where there is pride, silence reigns. But where there is love and humility, the river will always return. And just like that, the waters brightened and stilled. Only the sound of frogs and crickets remained. The villagers fell to their knees, awed. From that day, the river was renamed Miriobioma, the River of Kind Hearts. Years later, when Amarachi had grown old, she gathered her grandchildren beneath the sacred Udala tree. The setting sun painted her wrinkled face in gold. "Children," she said softly, "beauty fades, crowns break, power crumbles, but the heart that learns to bow will never fall. She closed her eyes and smiled. That night, when the moon rose full and calm, the river flowed brighter than ever before. The people said the queen had gone to join her beloved, not in death, but an eternal current of the water that never dies. And so, when the rain falls in Udo, the elders say, "Do not run for shelter." That is the queen blessing her children. Generations passed. The story of the king's daughter and the Serpent Prince spread beyond Udo, across the lands of Igbo land, carried by griots and moonlight drummers. It became a tale mothers told their daughters, not as a warning, but as a mirror. It became the story that taught kings humility and princes gentleness. And sometimes, on quiet nights, if you listen to the murmur of the river, you might still hear a faint voice humming, a love song between pride and forgiveness. When the heart bows, even the gods listen. Pride builds walls, but humility opens doors to worlds unseen. Amarachi's story reminds us that no one is too great to fall, and no mistake too deep to be forgiven, if only the heart dares to bend. If this story moved you, don't let it end here. Subscribe to Echoes of the Ancestral Moon, where forgotten African folk tales are reborn with the voice of wisdom, where every story reminds us of who we were and who we can still become. Share in the comments, what lesson did the river teach you today? Turn on notifications so you never miss another story whispered by the spirits.